Two words, Olivia Rodrigo. That's the theme of today's video, but also probably the theme of the 2022 Grammys. And also, let's be realistic, probably quite prevalent in my Spotify raps this year because sour has me in a chokehold. Literally, Olivia Rodrigo has achieved more in the last 6 months than I will in my entire lifetime. And I'm okay with that. However, as you know, I like to judge celebrities based on their taste in literature. Because do you know what? It is brutal out here. And fun fact I discovered whilst researching for this video, Olivia actually started her career playing a book lover in New Girl on TV, and so I just feel like it would be rude not to make this video. And a bunch of you tagged me on Instagram in this post by Read by Beth, where she breaks down all of the books that Olivia Rodrigo has recommended and posed with. So we have Helium, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, and The Marvels. And can we just collectively take a second to appreciate how beautiful this edition is. So this week I'm going to be reading all 3 of these books and letting you know whether they're good for you or left me feeling sour. The puns have started, someone stop this man. Okay, now you may get deja vu because I freaking love working with this brand, but I'm so excited to let you know that today's video is kindly sponsored by Karma, which is an app and Chrome extension that ensures you never miss a price drop or a coupon code. It has literally saved me hundreds of pounds since I started using it, including on this hefty boy. I got 25% off, which like 25% of this would just be a normal book. So I was buzzing with that. All you need to do is click the link down below to download Karma, and then when you're shopping on your favorite online stores, you can save the items using the Karma button. You'll then get a notification when the item goes on sale, has a relevant coupon code, or comes back into stock. And you can then organize your items into lists and shop mindfully. Here is my Olivia Rodrigo list. This is making my shopping experience happier. It's an Olivia Rodrigo song. Anyway, carrying on. And on the Chrome extension, Karma will even scan the internet to find relevant coupon codes just for you. You can even get cashback from a range of retailers, which is lovely, and Karma is completely free to download, so click the link down below and get yourself some good karma. Anyways, let's Rodri go and read the books. So I am currently balls deep in The Marvels by Brian Selznick, and this is the longest book I've read so far this year. It's like 800 pages, I think. And trust me, that's a lot for me because I have big book fear. This terrifies me, but it's very fast paced, so it's fine. Do you know what was not fine? The fact that basically today is the hottest day of the year in London so far, and so I was sitting by the canal. I was sitting outside, you know, the main character energy was flowing. However, these gold sprayed edges are very reflective, it turns out. And so while I was sitting there, these were reflecting the light into people's faces and literally blinding them. So I would just like to take this opportunity to apologize to all of the people I terrorized today at Regent's Canal, but I'm enjoying this so far. Okay, so I've just finished up reading The Marvels by Brian Selznick, and holy hell, this was exquisite. Genuinely, it might need to take 3 to 5 working days just to recover from this, and not just because I've got backache from carrying this around with me. So basically, the first 400 pages are a graphic novel, and it's all about a fictional shipwreck and the birth of a London theatre and a family of thespians, and the illustrations are frankly stunning. Like, I was literally spellbound, although that's an ugly baby, right? And then after that, there's a story written in prose, and it's about a boy who basically escapes from his boarding school and goes to visit his uncle in London to discover more about his family heritage. And the graphic novel at the beginning basically unlocks everything he needs to know. It's genius. I don't know if you can tell, but I honestly thought this was a masterpiece. And I'm so glad that this video encouraged me to read another graphic novel because it's not something I necessarily gravitate towards. And Brian Selznick builds this really rich cast of characters, and the descriptions are so visual and vivid, even in the text part. Like, you just feel like you're being transported to another place. And the prose part basically takes place in a house in London, which is like stepping back in time, because the boy's uncle has collected and curated this incredible collection of family heirlooms and artifacts. And for me, the coolest part was, this is a real place in London. It's called the Dennis Severs house, which was created as a sort of time capsule. And this is kind of what it looks like. How cool is that? Now, the only reason I didn't give this a perfect 5-star review is because I found that the middle of the text section gets a little bit repetitive. And it kind of killed the momentum a little bit for me, especially because the graphic novel is so gripping and fast paced. But aside from that, overall, this is something special. Oh, and the only other thing I'm mad at is how beautiful that cover is, and then the spine just looks like that. Like, Brian, come on, you couldn't have continued that beautiful design onto the spine as well? That is the definition of 1 step forward, 3 steps back. And now, on to the next book. When Olivia Rodrigo said, "I'm so sick of 17, where's my fucking teenage dream?" I felt that. And I'm 22. This is the next book that I read. This is Helium by Rudy Francisco. This is his debut collection, and it's a real mix of personal and political poetry. It discusses love and relationships, but also the author's experience with growing up black in America. And so it's really introspective, but also a cultural critique about race, gender, and class. And to give you a little taster to whet your appetite, I thought I would just read one of the poems. So this is called Skin 2. When you are the only black man in the whole neighborhood. Your skin is that one friend who meets everyone before you do. It wears a wife beater and house shoes. It knocks over the neighbor's mailbox. It cusses in front of the kids and plays the music too loud. But you don't actually do any of these things. It's 7 p.m. It's Wednesday. And you are just walking home. Wow, right? Wow. He also speaks about discrimination at the hands of the police, as well as other institutions, and basically how the experience of being a black boy underpins his entire existence. I loved this collection. I thought it was so raw and candid and honest. The only way I can describe it is as if Rudy Francisco recognizes himself as this complicated piece of origami, but he allows himself to unfold and appreciate each layer, and dissect and analyze and understand each of those individual components that make up a whole human being. So for example, he thinks about toxic masculinity, he thinks about his personal attitudes towards women and the culture that he's grown up in, and so much more than that. He also explores like self-forgiveness, and I thought that was so interesting, you know, like once you're stripped bare and you've unpacked all of your flaws, how do you then build yourself back up again and learn to forgive yourself and appreciate yourself, as well as recognizing the flaws of the systems that you inhabit and the privileges he does and doesn't have. How do you choose to still love yourself and your life even after kind of going through that soul searching? I don't know, I feel like you can just feel Rudy Francisco's heart beating through every single page, and as a debut collection, I thought it was so strong. The one thing I would say is that this is packed with metaphors. Like, if you're not into metaphors, you may find it excessive. Last night, actually, I attended a talk which was hosted by Chanel Miller and Ocean Vuong, and Ocean Vuong said the most interesting and relevant thing to this collection, because he was speaking about how often metaphors are used to describe and dissect trauma, and that is because metaphors can be used to capture your feelings and sentiments without opening the wounds all over again. And I think that really rings true for this particular collection. So yeah, to conclude, this was a really strong collection, and one that I think I will be revisiting time and time again for years to come. So, great recommendation! So I'm working my way through the final book that Olivia Rodrigo has recommended. This is actually a reread for me because I read it a few years ago, and I've just been thinking, you know, about the best bridges in the world. So you've got Tower Bridge, you've got Sydney Harbour Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, Olivia Rodrigo's bridge in Driver's License. This girl went for a breakup and took the phrase "build a bridge and get over it" very literally, and wrote the best bridges of all time. Anyways, now I'm gonna carry on reading. Okay, that is the final book done and dusted. Did I read it all in one sitting? Maybe. I'm just gonna go out there and say it. This is one of the best books of all time. This is a book about a neurodivergent boy, and it's called The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. The central protagonist's name is Christopher, and he views the world in a very logical way, and so when he discovers a dead dog lying in his neighbor's garden, he decides to set out and solve the mystery. Because his brain is so logical, he's really good at maths and science, because he can walk through those processes step by step. However, human beings kind of complicate that, and he often struggles to read situations and social interactions. He follows in the footsteps of his hero, which is Sherlock Holmes, and in the process of solving the murder of the dog, he kind of uncovers some deep-rooted family secrets and some hard-hitting truths. I read this book a few years ago, and it's just one of those books that you never ever forget reading, because it's so original and it captures Christopher's voice so authentically. I also think that spending a whole book with a character from their first-person perspective teaches you so much empathy, because it gives you such a better understanding of why they come to these conclusions and what their thought process actually is. And this is all about how people with autism experience the world, and of course it can't be representative of absolutely everyone, because obviously every autistic person has a unique experience. So it'd be foolish to suggest that this represents everyone, but I think that it represents this particular experience incredibly well. Like, painstaking effort has been put into making this book a piece of art, down to the fact that all of the chapters are prime numbers because he's really into maths. And there's also these little diagrams and charts that help us understand his thought process, and it's just charming and witty and endearing and heartfelt, and I love this. I truly think it's a book that everyone should read, so I understand why Olivia Rodrigo said this is her favourite ever book of all time. And side note, I actually saw the stage version of this, and it was so impressive. Like, they basically used lighting and props and staging to represent what's going on in Christopher's mind, and it was phenomenal. Totally and utterly mesmerising. Cannot recommend this enough. Thanks, Olivia. So let's grab all the books. To conclude, I think that Olivia Rodrigo's taste in literature is chef kiss immaculate. Genuinely, I think this is the highest average rating I've ever given any of our celebrity book recommendations, so that's a win. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed all three of these books. Is there anything this girl cannot do? And if you are looking for something new to read, Hot Book Summer is coming. And next time I see Olivia Rodrigo recommending a book, best believe I'm gonna be reading it, because this girl has taste. Also, we had prose, we had poetry, we had a graphic novel. It's the range for me. And now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to go and stream Sour for the billionth time this year. Of course, a massive shout out to Karma for their continued support on my silly little channel. I appreciate you so much. And the link to the perfect virtual shopping assistant, which is completely free, will be down below. So go check it out, and while you're down there, sounds quite weird, you can give this video a naughty little thumbs up, and you can subscribe if you're new, because 70% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. That's outrageous. So if you don't subscribe, you are in fact a traitor. Cheers for watching the video. All the best. Stay in touch. Have a lovely day. And I'll catch you soon. Bye.